Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I've got another interesting reading vlog for you. Yay. All right, welcome to another weekly vlog. So yes, I have literally just finished recording my wrap up for the last vlog, which was kind of like a cliffhanger because I'm in the middle of a book, but I wanted to just kind of record my thoughts so far on this book because I'm probably going to finish it today and then continue on with the weekly vlog. But it's Monday. It's Monday and I'm just behind on life because it was a busy weekend. Like, it's a 4-day weekend for my kids. It was Valentine's weekend. And so there's a lot going on, and then we helped our friends build PCs, and then I got a new lens for my camera, which I'm super excited to try out. And I'm actually holding my camera, so it's supposed to have like anti-movement features inside of it, so we'll see if it comes out shaky or not, and if it is, I'm sorry, but hopefully it doesn't, and that it was worth the purchase because it was expensive. But so I am currently reading, and you can't tell what book it is because I have my cover on it, but this is Emily Wilde's Maps of the Otherworld, I believe is what it's called. I always forget. Yes, Maps of the Otherlands. There we go. Map of the Otherlands. Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. Geez, you would think that I can't read with how I pronounce things. But anyways, so at the end of the last vlog, which I just recorded 5 minutes ago, I was at page 165. Which is about the halfway mark. It's about a 130-page book. Oh yeah, see, look, it does shake when I like move things. But anyways, I'm like resting my arm on my elbow to try and keep it steady for sure. But yeah, so I've read about half of the book. I'm enjoying it. I love cozy fantasy, I think. This is the only cozy fantasy. Emily Wilde's is like the only cozy fantasy series I have read, so I don't know if I really do like cozy fantasy or if I just like this series. I'll try some other cozy fantasy in the future, but as of right now, like, I do enjoy this. So I'm about halfway through the story. This one's a little bit different because there's a larger cast of characters in this one. So in this book, we are following Emily and Wendell, and they are going on a quest to find a fairy door into one of the Irish Fae court kingdoms, like to find the fairy door. And there is also, it's Emily and it's Wendell and her niece, Emily's niece, is there, as well as another professor from Cambridge who's kind of a jerk, and I don't like him very much, but I feel like he's gonna play a role. I don't know, there's like a riddle sort of prophecy sort of situation, like directions. Like, Emily has met with this random guy who only appears to her and keeps disappearing. From the story, he's lost in like Fae, like he's lost in like the outskirts of Fae, like he's not in any kingdom, he's just kind of wandering, and she's able to see him at different periods of time because he's either older or younger as she sees him. And with that, he is trying to give her directions. He gives her like directions but in a riddle, and he's carrying these ribbons and everything. And the point that I'm at, like, she knows who he is, but I think that the professor is going to play a role when it comes to those sorts of things, like something in that riddle, that prophecy riddle that he keeps giving her. I feel like that's where the professor is going to play a role, because otherwise he's just there to be obnoxious and add a little bit of risk and drama to the situation, which I guess makes sense because the original person who had that role was Wendell in the first book, but I mean, he doesn't have that role anymore. Oh, this needs to go higher. But Wendell doesn't really play that role anymore. He has a different role in this story now. So I guess she needed to incorporate a character to fill that role. So I'm thinking I'm thinking that he has more of an importance to the story than just, you know, taking the role of that bit of contention for the story. So we'll see how it goes. I'm planning on reading this. I'm actually just gonna finish watching the video that I'm watching right now and then start reading, and we'll see how far I get. Hopefully I can finish it tonight because I got some editing to do tomorrow and filming. I've got my Fairy Loot YA box came in. I got another one from Illumicrate. that's outside of the subscription. And then I wanted to film like the books that I got for Valentine's Day, because my husband also bought me books for Valentine's Day. He's super sweet. So I wanted to film that and edit tomorrow. So I want to at least get through this book tonight so I can finish it before, that way like maybe Tuesday night after I get all my stuff done, I can start a new one. I don't know what I'm going to read yet though. I was going to, so originally my plan was to read The Hemlock Queen like next, but I'm not sure that I want to do that anymore because I just found out that there's another book coming out. I thought that it was a duology because all of her other books are duologies. So I was like, okay, it's a duology. It's not. There's a third one coming out. So now I'm like, okay, wait. I just reread the Foxglove King and I was going to pick up the Hemlock Queen thinking, okay, I'll finish it. But later this year, the third one is coming out. The Nightingale God, I think is what it's called. So I might actually push that off a little bit to kind of break it up. I like to space out, like when I have multiple books in a series that I need to catch up on, I like to space them out every couple of months. That way it's not like I read all like 3 or 4 of them in a month and then I have to wait 9 months for the last one. Last time I did that, I never finished the last book. Like I have been sitting on the last book for forever, and that was the Bonds That Tie series. And it's a reverse harem, which generally isn't my thing, but the first book like has 0 smut in it, so it kind of sucked me in. And then by the time the smut started getting too much, I was already sucked into the story, so I had to keep going with it. But the 6th book wasn't out by the time I finished it. I like binge read all of them, and then the 6th book wasn't out. And by then I was like, you know what, screw it, I don't care anymore. And when the 6th book did come out, I didn't pick it up. I'm still like 1 book away from completing that series, and I have no qualms about ever like finishing it. I'm good with that. So not that I think that I'm gonna have that feeling about the Foxglove King series, but I like spacing them out. That way I don't risk that as much. So I don't know, I'm probably going to maybe, I don't know, because all of the books that have been like on my list to read have sequels coming out later in the year. Like the other ones are the This Woven Kingdom series. Well, the 4th one is coming out later on the year, I think like September. Maybe I'll read the 2nd one and wait a few months to read the 3rd one. That way, when the 4th one comes out, I can read it. Maybe I'll do that. Or I can just pick something else altogether. I don't know. I also haven't finished, I also have to finish The Teller of Small Fortunes. I haven't finished that one. I'm about halfway through, so I have to pick that back up. I have to read Valor for the Catch Up Book Club for the live show that's like March, but I think it's like March 15th or something. I don't know. And then I have to read the book from my book club, like my local book club, and that one is The Secret Society of Regular Witches, which I think I should be able to fly through. But then I also have to read Practical Magic for my bingo card. I have to read a book that was published in the 90s. And then a collection of short stories, which I was gonna go for the collection of short stories that goes with Miss Peregrine's School for Peculiar Children. Even though I've only read the first 2 books. Was it first 2 or first 3? It might have been the first 3 books. I only read the first 2 or 3, but I read them years ago. I mean like a decade ago at this point. So I don't even remember like anything about it at all. I'm a mess. I'm a hot mess. Okay, I don't know anything, but what I do know is that I'm going to finish Emily Wilde's today. That is 110% my plan, is to finish Emily Wilde's today. So I will keep you updated and let you know how that is going. Okay, I'll see you in a few. Bye. Okay, so I finished Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, specifically because I keep forgetting what the name is, because it's not Emily Wilde's, because that we just automatically assume is like Emily Wilde's encyclopedia, but this is Map of the Otherlands. And I finished it and I enjoyed it. This one is a lot different than the first one. So it still has the cozy vibe, but the atmosphere wasn't as atmospheric. I mean, I don't know a better way to put that. It just, the vibe was there, but it wasn't entirely there. So the first book is very cozy. Like you feel like very like warm and cozy and like you're sitting by a fire, and it's great. It's very atmospheric in that sense. This one has less of that, but I think that's because we're diving farther into the plot. The first one was more world building, so it set that tone. This one has a lot more plot into it. The story continues kind of where the first book left off, not an exact situation. Time has passed, things have calmed down, and we are taking a major plot point from the first book and continuing on in another location in this book. So they are in search, Emily and her niece and Wendell and a professor from Cambridge, Rose. They are on a journey to not only locate two scholars who have been missing for like 50 years, but also to find a fairy door. That leaves a lot more action into the story, a lot more mystery, a lot more questions being answered. So the story becomes more plot heavy than the first book, when the first book was more like episodic in a way, where there were some issues, you know, some conflicts. There were some conflicts in the first one that again were more episodic, and it was just something that, you know, Emily was resolving as it went along. And then we had the overarching plot. This focuses more on the overarching plot. There are some smaller conflicts that are resolved in this book, but this focuses more on that overarching plot. So I enjoyed it. I don't know if it was my favorite. I feel like this story is definitely closer to something that I would read as just like a fantasy reader. It's less cozy than the other one. But I feel like I like the first one a bit more because of the coziness of it. Not that this was bad in any way, shape, or form. This was a really good book, but I think the atmosphere that the other book provided was more enjoyable. And this is just like a good story, if that makes any sense. But so the next book that I am picking up is actually one that I started like last year. I mean like early last year. I'm actually 183 pages into it. I haven't picked it up recently yet. This is like the first time I read it, or this was from the first time I read it. So this book has a fun story. I lost my first copy of this book. So I bought this book, obviously, when it came out. It's the Barnes & Noble exclusive, and I had it on my shelf. And there was a reading challenge that I was doing that said, read a book that goes along with your zodiac sign or recommended for your zodiac sign. And I was like, okay, I'm a Pisces, so I found one that said that this would go along with my zodiac sign. Well, I never finished it for the challenge, to be honest with you. I just got too distracted with like life, and it's kind of a slow moving book, and it's really thick. It's an interesting story, but it's just a slow moving book. And the thing that kind of threw it off is I had to take a test for my certification. When you're a teacher and you have to take like tests basically to prove that you are knowledgeable in certain areas and stuff like that. So to have different certifications on my license, basically. So I went down to one of the colleges to take my test, because it's like proctored in the testing centers and stuff like that, because they watch you and everything. And it was the craziest day. Like, we had a crazy storm hit Houston, and everything was flooding, and it was just madness. And I went down to take my test. I was almost done with the test, and they threw us out of the school into the storm, into the flooding storm, for safety reasons, which made no sense to me, halfway through my test. So I never got to finish my test. That was really stressful, because I was like halfway through the freaking test, and I had to go and reschedule it, and I was on a time crunch and all this other kind of stuff. But in the process, I actually left my book there. So I had brought the book. You put it in a locker, and you put all your stuff in your locker while you're taking the test. But I brought the book so I can read like before I was waiting, and like, you know, if I had to wait to take the test and everything. And I accidentally left my copy in the locker, which was really sad. And I also had one of the pretty like Illumicrate like book jackets on it. And I got super sad, and I called the school, and no one found the book. And, you know, it was a sad thing. But I eventually found another copy. I bought another copy from Mercari, and I replaced my book cover as well. But after that traumatic event, like in the spring of last year, I have not touched my book since. So it was like May, I think, that I started this, and I haven't touched it since. So I think my goal next is actually going to be to finish this. So just to tell you a little bit about the book, it's called, it's Curious Tides, and it's basically about a girl who goes to a college that teaches you how to further your magic. So in this world, there are people who are born with powers. These powers usually are based on your zodiac, or based on the moon cycle, which you were born under. So it's a really interesting magic system. Anyways, there's a girl who goes to the college. She's always kind of like bottom of the barrel. Like, she works really hard, but she's not like naturally talented in her magics. And her roommate and best friend of years is at the college too. And a group of like the top kids in the school end up going to search these caves for like this mystery or something based off of like a storybook that is popular and talks about, you know, these places and stuff. So they're going to check out this mystery, go into these caves. We believe that there's some sort of power influx or something like that there. And all these kids go, and the tide comes in and they die. The only person who survives the entire encounter is the main character of the story. But now, you know, like a couple months later, school's back in session, and the bodies of these kids are washing up on shore. All this weird stuff is happening, and she has new powers that she never knew about before. Like, she has new powers that weren't hers before. So she has access to new magics that she never had access to before. She's stronger. There is like an elite society who's trying to like recruit her. It's really interesting. It's kind of dark, kind of creepy, really cool magic system, dark academia, all of that. And I think it's just time that I finish it. So that is going to be my goal for the next, it's 539 pages. So it's long. I still probably have like 370 pages left. So, I mean, it's, right? Yeah, I have like 370 pages left. So that's gonna be my plan. It is my husband's birthday today. We have a lot of holidays. Well, like personal holidays within like a 2-week period. It was Valentine's Day. Today's my husband's birthday. My dad is coming in to visit us on Friday. My birthday is the following weekend. My daughter's birthday is like 2 days after that. So I have a lot going on in the next couple of weeks. There's a book festival that I'm going to on my birthday, a YA book festival in Dallas. So I've got a lot going on. So hopefully I'll be able to get some of this. Hopefully I'll be able to finish this. I think I might use my Amazon Music like monthly Audible book that I get. So with Amazon Music, if you have the subscription, you get a free audiobook through Audible every month. So I think I might use that one for this because it resets on the 23rd anyways, which is in like 5 days. So I'll probably do that and use this and listen to the rest of it while following it along, just to kind of get through it quickly, because honestly, I don't know how much time I'm gonna have this week, especially with my dad coming in on Friday. So, and then I have to clean the house and just a whole bunch of stuff. So, but that is my plan. Curious Tides next, and we'll see how it goes. Again, it's kind of slow right now, or it was kind of slow, but I could have also just not been in the mood for it because I had so much going on. So we'll see. Let's see how this goes. But for now, I do enjoy it, just a little slow. So we'll see. So the other book that I am reading is actually just doing my job. So this is a historical nonfiction account of people and what they were doing around the time of Pearl Harbor and World War II. So service stories from World War II. So I actually picked this book up in Pearl Harbor when I went to Hawaii, I think last year, 2023. I went to Hawaii in 2023, and I picked this book up at the gift shop in Pearl Harbor. I'm a history major. I love history. So my focus in history is actually war and violence. So obviously this is something I'm extremely interested in. And I started it when I got it. This is another book that I'm picking up that I never finished. So I started it when I got it, and I had been reading like a story a night or something, and then I put it down and I never picked it back up. So I would like to finish this one as well. So this one I'm actually going to be reading instead of the audiobook like the other one. So like at night when my husband is reading, so I don't have an audiobook that's going to disturb him, I'll read this while I'm audiobooking the other one, which will be super nice. And it covers one of my prompts. So I have a prompt on my bingo board. There's only 2 left. It's read a collection of short stories and 5 short stories or more. And then the other one is read a book from the 90s. So I've got Practical Magic that I'm probably going to read in March. And this will fulfill my collection of short stories. And then I will have my full bingo card done, and I'll actually probably make a video going over all the books that I read for it. But I'm super excited to continue with this one. I actually read 2 stories last night. One was like a heartbreaking story of a woman who survived. Her family was able to flee Nazi Germany and immigrate to America right before things got really bad. They were already bad in Germany at the time that she lived there, but she was able to get out in the late 30s rather than the 40s, and she made it to America, and her family was able to survive. Her extended family, however, was not so lucky. They were all lost during the Holocaust. I also read a story about a sailor who was on the USS Nevada, and then he ended up on the USS San Francisco, and the Nevada was actually bombed. Initial attack on Pearl Harbor. It was right next to the Arizona, which is the memorial, the Arizona Memorial. If you go to Pearl Harbor, there is like a memorial over where the boat sank. So the Arizona is the one that most people know because it sank so quickly that no one was able to evacuate, and it's considered a grave site now because all of the sailors who were on that ship, their bodies are still in the water, and you can actually see it. Like it's just above the surface. It's not, or just below the surface. It's not like really far down. You can see the ship, and the Nevada was right next to it. So he was actually on land when the Nevada was hit and ran aground. So he survived that, and then he went on to the San Francisco, which the San Francisco was not a major battleship. It was a smaller ship. There was just a small fleet that was left there to defend an island in the Pacific that was a U.S. held territory from the Japanese. So it's a really interesting stories. There's quite a few more to go. I've only read probably 5 stories so far. I'm not even sure what page that is. 100 pages. So 5 stories was 100 pages, and I've got quite a few to go. It seems like they get longer actually as the book goes on. So I'm really excited to finish this. I love history. It's my favorite. So that's the other book that I'm going to be reading. And hopefully I can maybe get another one in. But if I don't get another one in before Friday, I'm probably not going to be reading very much this weekend. Kind of like last weekend. I didn't read very much last weekend either because the kids were home. And then this coming weekend, my dad's going to be here. And then the next week, my dad's going to be here. So I probably am not going to have a vlog come out that week. I might have a vlog come out that week, but it's going to be like a shopping vlog. More of a shopping vlog and like a birthday vlog than it is a reading vlog. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Wish me the best of luck. So. Okay, so I'm actually multitasking. I'm eating my lunch while updating you guys. I have been super busy with life. My dad was in town visiting for a week. He lives in another state, like 1,000 miles away. So he came to visit me, and then it was my birthday and my daughter's birthday, and then we went to a book festival. So like I haven't had a whole lot of time to update, but I just wanted to check in now while I'm eating my lunch. So the first book that I actually finished was Curious Tides. So it was good, but it was not good. Okay. Curious Tides is a dark academia story. It is set in a world where people have powers based off of their lunar phases. Some have more powers than others. Some don't have powers at all, I think, if I remember correctly. But it's set at a school where people learn to, you know, train their powers. And the powers are, again, based on the lunar cycles. So it follows two characters, two different point of views. One is Baz, and he's an eclipse born, which is like a rarer occurrence than the others. And they're kind of looked at like evil, shadowy, like dark people. Everyone's kind of afraid of them, you know, doesn't like them. Baz is the only one left in his lunar house. And then we have Emery, who is she's a new moon candidate. She's basically a healer. And the previous year, she went into a cave in this place called Dovermere with a bunch of other students. They all died, except for her. She was the only survivor of this event. The tide came in, it was a whole thing. So this world is dark academia, powers based on lunar cycles, and then there's a whole other story of like lost gods and stuff like that. So the premise is really interesting. I loved the premise of the story. It was the writing that took me forever to actually get through this. So I'm on that whole kick of like, let me finish all the books that I started but never finished. Yeah, this is one of them. I actually started it in like April of 2024. And now it is 2025. It was like 10 months that it took me to finish this book. And it's not because it wasn't good or that I didn't enjoy the story. It was more the writing. So it didn't hold my attention, not because the writing was bad or anything like that. It's because most of the story is a big mystery, right? And you're trying to figure out what's going on. You as the reader has no clue. You're reading from the perspective of these two characters and they don't know what's going on. The unfortunate thing that I found with this story is that there's no foreshadowing. Like there's no clues, no breadcrumbs, no nothing to kind of keep you intrigued as to what's going on. You're still just kind of in the dark for like most of it. So there's nothing to keep you guessing, right? It's just, you don't know, and that's that. And I find that I lose my interest really easily when there's nothing, like there's no breadcrumbs leading me along. And that was definitely the case with the Curious Tides. So it's good. It's good enough that I'm going to pick up the second one, which I already own, to kind of see where it goes. But it was definitely something where I needed to listen to the audiobook and follow. And even the audiobook listening took me like a week, which is rare. Normally I could finish one of those suckers in like a day when I have the audiobook playing along because it keeps me more focused. But even that, I was just like, ugh. And then the other book that I finished, that I had started but never finished, I started in like December, was Warm Hands of Ghosts. So this is a World War I based historical fantasy. So it is set in World War I in actual like locations and with actual events, but there is a fantastical element to it. So the story, hi Moose, come here. My kitty's trying to get off the counter and she's struggling. Oh, there she goes. Okay. So this one follows, again, dual point of view. It's two characters, two siblings. One is, what was her name? Laura. So Laura is a nurse, a military nurse. She was honorably discharged from her service after an accident that left her injured. She has a limp, that sort of thing, but she was basically a military nurse on the front lines of World War I. And she goes home, her parents have died, you know, she's just kind of trying her best to survive, to live life. And then she gets a package with her brother's belongings from the war. So her brother is a soldier. The other point of view we are following is her brother and what went on during his time. So she receives this package of his belongings. So she thinks he's dead, but then she sees a ghost and the ghost tells her, no, he's not dead. You have to go find him. You have to go save him. So she joins back up to, not through the military, but working with private entities that provide healthcare during the war. So basically a mobile hospital provided by a private mobile hospital that goes to tend to those in combat zones. She joins up with them to get back over to Europe from Canada so that she can search for her brother and try to save him. And then on the other side, we've got her brother, Wilfred, who is, there was an attack, there was a shell that came down, blew up the pillbox or the bunker that they were in. He ends up surviving the incident with a German soldier. They are buried under the ground. They help each other, they save each other's lives, help each other survive, get out of that situation. And it's kind of their story of survival as they're trying to escape, but also trying to keep each other safe. So, you know, if the Canadian goes to the Canadian troops, there is something bad's gonna happen to the German guy and vice versa. So they make a promise to save each other's lives and they do it. So it's a really interesting story. It gives a good look into World War I. World War I isn't generally a war that's often depicted. Usually if you see a lot of media about wars and there's mainly, if they're going to pick one, it's World War II. So World War I doesn't get a lot of attention, which is really sad because it is a really important period in history. So the story was good. I loved the writing. I loved the, you know, look into history, the characters. I enjoyed them, the relationships that develop, the themes of like grief and how, you know, what really defines an enemy, because the Canadians were on the other side. Canadian and the German come together and save each other and bond. And I find the story just to be really interesting, and it was a really good take, and the themes were really powerful in the story, and I really, really enjoyed it. The only complaint that I have is that the POVs were too short. Like, as they're switching, because one POV is Laura and the other one is Wilfred. So Freddie. The other one's Freddie. And I mean, it switches back and forth too quickly. Like, I wanted more of, you know, Laura's story, or I wanted more of Freddie's story, and it just cut me short and I had to go on to the next perspective, and that drove me insane. And that was probably my only complaint about it. But otherwise, I really, really liked both of those books. So yeah, I'm gonna finish my chicken salad, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the nonsense that I did this week. Okay, so over the weekend, I went to the North Texas Teen Book Festival. It's in Dallas every year. I've been going for like the past 4 or 5 years, ever since they reopened it after COVID. I got 2 books while I was there. I Am Made of Death by Kelly Andrews. It's the same author that wrote Your Blood, My Bones and The Whispering Dark. I love her books. Like, they've got that like right amount of creep factor, and we know that I love the creep factor. So I got that one, and they're all signed. I also got a bunch of books that I already own signed, so that one. And she wrote, "I'm so glad you exist," which that makes me happy. But so I got that one. And then I also picked up Rebel Witch, Kristen Cicerelli. So this is the book 2 in the Crimson Moth series. I have the Fairy Loot edition of this, and I'm going to buy the matching one, but I wanted to read it and I didn't want to wait. So the Fairy Loot edition is going up for sale, I think next month, the end of next month sometime, but then it's not going to ship until the end of 2025, beginning of 2026. And I'm like, I can't wait that long. So I bought a copy. It's signed. My daughter has the American editions, so I'm just going to give this to her after I read it. And then I'll have my Fairy Loot one for my collection. But I had her sign my Fairy Loot edition because that one didn't come signed. So I actually had her sign that. I also had my like copy of For She Is Wrath signed by Emily Varga. I met Kelly Andrews, and I got all of my editions of Powerless, like Powerless, Powerful, and Reckless signed by Lauren Roberts. So it was actually pretty interesting because Victoria Aveyard was there, the author of Red Queen, and Laura Roberts was there, and they were on the same panels because of the similar themes of their stories. And I was just, it was kind of funny to be there, especially just Victoria Aveyard's face the entire time. It was hilarious. I actually met Victoria Aveyard last year at the festival, and I had all of my books from her signed. They were like all right there. I had all of those signed, and it was super nice meeting her. She's like super sweet, and I love her. I didn't meet her this time just because the lines are really long, but she is coming to Houston in April, so I'm gonna go there, and I have nothing for her left for her to sign, but I will find something. I'll find something to bring to her just so I can talk to her again, but because she's super awesome. But that was it for my festival. The lines were crazy. The organization was a little rough this year. Normally I get a bunch of ARCs. I didn't this time because like the way they were giving them out was just nutty, and I was not trying to wait in those lines with those crowds with people pushing. It was just not my scene. So I bailed out on most of those, but that's okay. I don't really need ARCs because I never read them anyways, because I'm always afraid that like the ARC is going to have different things than the final copy of the book, and I just don't want that. So I want to read the final copy. But I also, if you notice, got more shelves. So angle that up. My shelves now go to the ceiling. I have to fill them, and I still have to get the ones for the other side. So they didn't have the little tiny pieces over there, the little corner piece. They didn't have that in stock when I ordered all of them. So I'm like, I don't want just that one piece to be missing. So I was like, I'll wait and I'll get the rest. And then lo and behold, by the time those got delivered like 2 days later, they had the tiny ones in stock. So I'm probably gonna get those maybe later this month. I have to see, I haven't decided yet. And then, yeah, it's just been a lot. And then my dad was here, and we were like adding things to the house. So like I added new light fixtures and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's been chaos. It's been chaos, and I bought a lot of books. So let me show you. So it was my birthday, and these are all the books that I got for my birthday. So we've got, I think there's like 29 books or something like that I got for my birthday. Obviously, like that one I needed. That one, I have to read the second one first. This is like a new T. Kingfisher that I really wanted to read. Over here, I got like, I've already read these, but like a new one came out, so I wanted to like reread them. My dad bought this, like Ghost Stories and like the official dictionary of sarcasm. He thought they were hilarious, so he bought them for me. Then I've got, let's see, then I've got some historical fiction that I'm really wanting to read. Some more fiction, dragons, some sequels. This one I actually got an ARC of, a digital ARC, and I was supposed to like review it. I never finished it, but I wanted to finish it. It was really good, the parts that I read, but I never finished it. So that's one that I need to actually finish and catch up on. But that was that. So I didn't really get a whole lot of reading done because there was just a lot of stuff going on. But with that, I am going to end this vlog and start a fresh one because I feel like I failed so much in like my lack of reading. I mean, I read 2 books. I finished 2 books, 3 technically, because at the beginning of this video, I was finishing Emily Wilde. Really, I just finished a lot of books that I had just started. So I'm proud of me for that at least. I got quite a few knocked off, and I'm gonna keep up the trend. There's, I think, like 2 more that I have to finish that I've already started. There's more than that. There's way more than that. Like Wicked King by Holly Black, the Cruel Prince series, like the second one. I started that like 4 years ago, I feel like, and I never finished it. So there's quite a few that I still have to finish. And that's gonna be my goal, is my sequels and finishing books that I've started, which are really, it's sequels, honestly, that get me. And yeah, so that's gonna be my goal, is to keep chipping away at those. Anyways, guys, so thank you again for tuning in for my lovely reading vlog that is probably going to be really short because of my lack of reading and updating, but it's okay. I'll do better next time, I promise. I'm actually doing Realmathon in March, so there should be a lot of reading for that, which I'm excited about. I love participating in Realmathon. It's a competitive spirit in me. So stay tuned for my next vlog where I will be reading all of my political fantasies for Realmathon. I'm quite excited about that. But anyway, so if you liked my video, please don't forget to like it, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to. That way you can get more fun and kind of chaotic bookish content from me. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye.